Well, hi, folks. I'm Chris Doran, the director for Pennsylvania Firearms. And in this short video, I'm going to talk about the differences between your two candidates for Congress, incumbent Republican Scott Perry, and he is facing off against Democrat challenger Janelle Stelson. Now, there is a whole lot on the line in these elections, and they are barreling at us like a freight train. So if you're pro-gun, you're pro-Second Amendment, pro-family, pro-life, pro-closed borders, you're going to watch this video. This is Congressional District 10. This would be Dauphin County, part of Dauphin County, part of Cumberland County, York counties, that area. And we're going to go over Scott Perry first in this one because Scott Perry has votes that we can actually take a look at. There's a lot on the line here, and quite frankly, whoever wins this election, with the margins so very thin in the U.S. House of Representatives, it could very likely be that whoever wins this election here in Pennsylvania Congressional District 10, that party might control the U.S. House of Representatives. There's a lot on the line here. So I'm going to, if you'll direct your attention to the whiteboard here, so I can get the words out, and I am going to switch into my green pencil here because we got a lot of great things to say about Scott Perry. This is a guy who's been in elected office for a while now. Let's point to this one first. Starting way back in 2010, I think it was, Scott Perry was the author of Pennsylvania's Castle Doctrine law, which simply means that if you're in your home or your place of abode or your car or things like that, a hotel room, you don't have a duty to retreat if you're in a self-defense situation. You can simply take action to defend yourself. That's a fantastic piece of pro-gun legislation that he authored way back in the Pennsylvania General Assembly. So that's good. He's got some votes as a congressman, though. So these next four I'm going to go through here are votes as a sitting U.S. congressman. And let me just tell you this, not all Pennsylvania Republicans are built the same. We have Brian Fitzpatrick, for example, over there all the way up against the border on the east side of the state. He is like the number one defector when it comes to leaving the Republican Party and joining the Democrats. He is the current sponsor. That Republican, Brian Fitzpatrick, is the current sponsor of the Democrats' universal gun registration bill. So let's jump into it. Scott Perry here again. We're talking about this guy. He voted no on the assault weapons ban, which is essentially a ban on all semi-automatic firearms. Of course, the left can never define what an assault weapon really is. But he voted no on it because what it did was outlaw pretty much any semi-automatic firearm that you can think of. Turns out that AR-15s and most semi-automatic firearms make excellent tools to tell tyrannical governments no. And when you look back at the 20th century, an estimated 100 million people were murdered by their governments after they were disarmed through laws or rules like assault weapons bans. We're very glad to see that Scott Perry stood his ground and voted no on that. He also voted no on national red flag gun confiscation. Let me tell you what a red flag law is. Red flag laws allow anybody to petition, in this case, it'd be like a federal judge, to have your guns taken away from you without you ever being charged, tried, or convicted of a crime. It's the total destruction of due process rights for gun owners. And it's basically a tool that will be definitely used as a political weapon by the ruling class to go after people who dissent with their agenda. We're very glad again to see that Scott Perry's walk matches his talk at campaign season. So he voted no on a national red flag law. He also voted no on a national gun registry, folks. We believe Joe Biden and Kamala Harris when they stand there on the national stage and say things like, hell yes, we're going to take your guns, or ban them, ban assault weapons. National gun, the whole point of a national gun registration scheme is that it builds the foundation for a national gun confiscation agenda. Again, that's not my words. That's exactly what the current sitting president has been saying, what the current vice president has been saying that they want to do to gun owners like you and me. So that's not even an extreme statement anymore. It's what they say all the time in the media. So we love it that he voted against this stuff. The government does not need to track, trace, and register gun owners like they're sex offenders. quite frankly, gun owners are a more law-abiding class of people than the politicians ever could be. You want to see corrupt, lawless people, just drive on down to Washington, D.C. You'll see plenty of them there. We love it that Scott Perry voted no on national gun registration. Here's a pro-gun bill he voted for. He voted yes on national reciprocity. Fantastic bill. Beautiful pro-gun piece of legislation. Simply says if you have a license to carry in one state, you should be good to carry in all the states. That's pretty common sense to me. And it seems that there's a lot of other things that are like, there's other issues that already tap into that idea that if you have a license in one state, you should be able to do whatever in another. So national reciprocity, one of the biggest pro-gun bills ever to reach the floor of Congress in the last several decades. Scott Perry was right there and he voted yes on it. So I'm going to give Scott, as a congressman, we don't like to give these out very much, but I'm going to give Scott Perry an A rating. An A rating because he voted yes on all the gun rights bills as a sitting congressman, and going way back to when he was in the Pennsylvania General Assembly. And he voted no on all of the gun control bills that the radical left has been putting on the floor of Congress while he has been there. So let's talk about his Democrat challenger now, Janelle Stelson. Former TV personality, now turned professional politician very quickly. It's kind of shocking to see how she's switching over here. But we're talking about this lady right here, Janelle Stelson. And you can tell a lot about a person. You can get the measure of a person by looking at who their friends are. In this case, she's endorsed by Gabby Gifford's organization called Giffords, self-titled. It's a gun control organization, and it focuses exclusively on passing gun control at the federal and state levels. And so it's a big red flag right out of the gate. Again, for this one, Janelle Stelson just came out on the 26th of September, very recently, that Bloomberg's getting behind Janelle Stelson as well. And Michael Bloomberg, oh, I forgot my red X. Michael Bloomberg is the godfather of gun control. He's the one financing the gun control movement. He wants every state in America to look just like New York or just like Illinois or just like California. So it's a big problem when Michael Bloomberg says that this is the person that he wants in Congressional District 10. Let's look into the policy now, though, because this is a couple of the endorsements that are not in her favor. Let's look at some of the policy. She supports a national red flag law. Again, this gives the left the ability to red flag their political opponents and have their guns taken away from anybody they want without having to charge that person or try them in a court of law and proving that they are guilty of some kind of a crime. That's what she supports. That's what Janelle Stelson wants to pass for Congressional District 10. She supports national gun registration. That's another big fat red X right there. Again, I think I've said this before. If I didn't, I'm going to say it again. In the 20th century alone, 100 million people were murdered by their governments, people that were disarmed and helpless. The whole point of we the people owning firearms is to make sure that our government can never become like that. And if you watched the power grab from 2020 to 2023 during the lockdowns and the shutdowns and things like that, it's not so hard to sit there and comprehend or think of a world in which they want to take away our guns. All you got to do is turn on your TV and you'll see them. They'll say it. Ban them. Ban us. So she supports that national gun registration. And the government wants to know who owns what guns. And the reason why they want to do that is not for your good intentions. She wants to ban all semi-automatic firearms, folks. And don't be fooled by the fact that they sit there and talk about assault weapons. Don't forget, this is the same party. Janelle Stelson's party is the party that left billions of dollars worth of real weapons of war on the streets of Afghanistan. Did Janelle Stelson ever oppose that and come out and say, this is wrong? What about those poor kids in Afghanistan? No, she never did, because this is a political issue for her. This is the same party. Janelle Stelson's party is the same party that sold machine guns to the Mexican drug cartels during the ATF's Operation Fast and Furious. Those guns were then used against American citizens and Border Patrol agents. But did Janelle Stelson ever condemn that? No. Of course not. Guns for me, but not for thee, these people. This is how these people live. They want to ban all semi-automatic firearms, not just AR-15s. They want to ban Ruger 1022s, Marlin Model 60s, Remington 1187 shotguns. They want to ban Glock 43Xs, the same firearms that you use every day to defend yourself and your loved ones. Janelle Stelson wants to ban them. That's absolutely preposterous. Same with mandatory gun lockup laws. They call these safe storage laws, but Kamala Harris herself was caught on video saying that the purpose of these mandatory gun lockup laws, these safe storage laws, is so that they can send state agents into the sanctity of your home. That's her words, not mine. Into the sanctity of your home to inspect how you're taking care of your firearms. Well, that is an absolute violation of your constitutional right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures, but it doesn't stop them. That's what they're going for. Janelle Stelson failed on that one. She supports mandatory gun buybacks. Another big, huge red X there. Mandatory gun buybacks is straight up gun confiscation. I've seen the numbers for what these people want to do. They want to knock on your door using that registration thing right there. They want to use that data to come and knock on gun owners' doors and give them $250 checks for some of the very nice rifles that people buy, or $150 checks for the pistols. They want to do this because it legitimizes their lawless tyranny if they think they can give you money in exchange for relinquishing your freedoms. No, thank you. And by the way, the checks that they be giving you, that's your own tax dollars being given back to you. That's what Janelle Stelson supports. She's trying to get into office and unseat Scott Perry because she wants that agenda for you and for me and for everybody else in the state of Pennsylvania and in this country. That is a dadgum shame. And people need to know it. Gun owners need to know this. I'm going to ask you guys to do a couple things here. Number one, if you see Scott Perry out there in the campaign trail, all right, if you see him out there, he's working it hard. If you see Scott Perry out there, thank him for walking the talk that most cheap politicians never even do. He's got a fantastic voting record right here, folks. He's got a fantastic voting record. We can't find anything that he's done wrong. And honestly, we're pretty good at finding that. So if you see him on the campaign trail, thank him for walking the talk and fighting for your Second Amendment freedoms. If you see this lady out on the campaign trail here, I'm going to switch to black so you guys can see her. Maybe I should do blue, right? She's a Democrat. But if you see Janelle Stelson here, this nasty lady, tell her that she's pushing the wrong agenda, or at least she's pushing the agenda of the wrong country. Tell her this kind of crap may go over with those sissy Brits over in England, or maybe they worked better in 1945 Germany, or maybe Italy or Japan or something. This is Pennsylvania, the land of the free and the home of the brave, the birthplace of freedom, and that kind of tyranny just doesn't go around here. That's the message for Janelle Stelson. So, folks, last but not least, there's a lot, like I said at the beginning of this video, there's a lot on the line in this election, especially in this congressional district. I'm going to ask you guys, if you live in York County, if you live in parts of Dauphin County or Cumberland County, share this video with all of your pro-gun friends, family, loved ones, co-workers, neighbors, church members. Church members, you got to jump in on this kind of stuff. They'll come for you too. Doesn't matter if you're sitting in your churches. Everybody needs to get out there and vote. Share this with everybody you know so they know what's at stake. All right. And then, I guess last but not least, on November 5th, round up all of those friends, head down to your local polls, and vote pro-gun.